What's up, everyone? In the trenches, week 2. Boy, oh boy, those injuries really hit everyone hard. We're going to go right into the review show for week 2 right after this.
I feel banged up for these players.
All right.
You know, back in the 90s, Jerry Glanville, coach for the Falcons, told the referee one time, his very famous saying goes, the NFL stands for not for long, which is what you're going to be if you keep refereeing like this. Well, you know what? After Sunday, all I saw was injury upon injury upon injury. Some guys are going to be out a week. Some guys are being out a few weeks. Some guys are gone for the season. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, how lack of a preseason, lack of OTAs, you know, the COVID-19 hit everybody. That's why they have extended teams and extended practice squads. But let me tell you something. Soft tissue injuries, a lot of ankles, a lot of knees, a lot of shoulder strains. This is going to be interesting going forward, how many of these teams can stay healthy. So, back to you.
So, Coach, we've gone back and forth, and a lot of people say we shouldn't have a preseason. We should have a preseason. We should shorten up the preseason, whatever it is that we're going to do. This year we don't have a preseason. As a coach, is it really just that we don't have a preseason? Is that why guys are getting hurt, or are guys just not, like, as a coach, how do you prepare for these type of things? I know you can't prepare for an injury, and you never really want to, but how would you look at your players and tell them to be ready for the season? You know, is it really just a preseason, or what else is it?
Well, I do think that the preseason has a lot to do with it. Preseason prepares the players to condition their bodies to get up to game speed. You need the preseason from the first game, whether it's that first series they play, all the way up until the fourth game where they play all the way through. Sometimes some players play through the whole game. Some players play until the third quarter. But you really need that preseason to get those players up to game speed. It's different when you're in practice. It's not as much contact as it used to be back in the day. It's totally different. So these players need that contact when it's game time to simulate real situations. You know a lot of your teammates' tendencies and stuff in practice, so that usually makes practice easier. But players who you don't go against every day, definitely, it gives you different looks.
That's where the factor that's where it all changes. A lot of these guys, like we were talking earlier about the Barkley one, like like he got hit not going into a hole and stuff like that. These guys are going 150 miles per hour and the big, strong, and the smallest things, the smallest movements could, cost you an injury,
Definitely.
And that's now we've talked about the injuries a little bit. We'll get into it once we review each game and those players and what it means to those teams and all that. But let's lighten up the mood with a fairly, not a fairly good game, a pretty good game of the first game of the week, Thursday night. It was the Bengals at the Browns. The Browns ended up coming out with that win. Burrows was a shining star in the game. Everyone, Burrow, sorry, because I keep mispronouncing names, was a shining light. And the game was actually good, 35-30. The Browns ended up winning. But if you're a Cincinnati fan, you're looking at the future and you're going, you know what? I think we got our guy. Box, what do you think about this game? What are your key points on the game?
Basically, we're going to talk about Baker Mayfield and the help he had with his two running backs. His two running backs combined to give him over 200 yards rushing. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt were just, dominated that Bengals front seven. The Bengals were without their two defensive tackles, which really hurt them in the run game. But it really made life very easy for Baker Mayfield and the Browns. That notwithstanding, even though his offensive line completely let him down, and A.J. Green couldn't catch a cold, let alone COVID, let alone a pass, Joe Burrow finished the day 37 of 61 for 316 yards and 3 touchdowns, set an NFL rookie record for 37 completions. And he brought them all. They lost by 5. And this kid was getting beat up all game, drops here and there. And he just kept making plays and making plays. So, yeah, like you said, Jeff, if I'm the Bengals, we lost. We're 0-2. Our offensive line needs work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Joe Burrow looks like the real deal. He really, really does. It was a good game by the Browns. They really needed that win. But going forward, if I'm a Bengals fan, I feel really good about Joe Burrow.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You have to. I mean, Cincinnati, same as these, like Jacksonville and these lower tier teams. You have to be happy about everything that you get, and Burrow definitely is the man, and he's going to be the man there going forward. Now Baker Mayfield did perform and he did play. He's been under a lot of heat and he got the win. Was it pretty? No, not really. Did you expect it to be a lot better? Probably. But, Coach, what did you see from Baker Mayfield in that game? And can he continue that going forward? Or was it just, Cincinnati?
I think Baker Mayfield, they kind of contained his game and just didn't let him have to. All he did was just be a manager of the game, and Cincinnati, Cleveland's game plan allowed him to use his running backs to dominate the game, and for him just to make the short to intermediate passes. Not really too many deep passes. We all know it was one great pass to Odell Beckham, but for the most part, it was just a short to intermediate passes. Use his legs to keep the ball, keep the chains moving, and manage the game and win.
Yeah. Yeah. And that defense stepped up a lot.
Oh yeah,
The defense played well. The Browns did in the divisional game. It's always going to be tight like that, and they did what they had to do to get come out with the win to keep up with everyone else in that division.
If you watched our show from the beginning, the Bengals and the Browns preview, I did say that Myles Garrett was going to have to come through for him, and Myles Garrett did come through in the third quarter with a key sack that changed the momentum of the game.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You did call that one. You've caught a lot lately, bro. This whole episode is gonna be Kelly's calling. He's like, uh, so from there we're gonna go right into the Rams at Philadelphia. Rams ended up winning this. It's exactly how we predicted it. I think it's exactly how everyone saw the game going on. But Box, give me something that we could look at Philadelphia. Are they going to get better, or what's going on there?
I mean, I think they're going to get better. I think they have a good coach, but I mean, the first time, their offense looked pretty good against the Washington football team, and they allowed them to go for 27 straight points. And then in this game, they kind of looked pretty good for a little while, but we talked about it. Sean McVay, Jared Goff, Mr. Woods, they're over that Super Bowl hangover. Cam Akers did get hurt. He got hurt his ribs. One of the guys that got hurt on this past week. They blew them out. 449 total yards for the Rams offense through the air, through the ground. Goff looked great. 37-19. They blew them out in Philly. Philly's 0-2. They got a lot of work to do. They're still a very talented team. Miles Sanders is pretty good, but they really, really got to go back to the drawing board. They just lost back to back, they literally got blown out by back to back teams in offense, and they really got a lot of work to do. But the Rams looked tight, man. The Rams look really, really good. That offense is clicking on all cylinders, and Goff, McVay, the league better look out. They're back.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, Cam Akers was one of the guys that went down, but it doesn't seem like it's a season-ending injury. Sorry. But the Rams, like you said, they're back to form. Coach, are the Rams back to form? Could we expect the Rams to be pushing for the division? Are they going to get into the playoffs? How do you see them going forward in this season? Have they surprised you?
I think the Rams have truly surprised me this season. Coming in, I didn't expect much. I expected the Rams to be a middle of the road West team, but they're coming in, knocking people's heads off, controlling the games, imposing their will on their opponents, which is great. The Philadelphia Eagles on the other side, it's unfortunate for them. I think many people had high expectations for them, but they're just not panning out right now. I saw a report where Jalen Ramsey was activated for the first time this season, so it's possible there might be a quarterback change going on in Philadelphia. I know Carson Wentz threw an interception sometime in the game, and ironically, it's no fans in the stadium, but the boos came out of the intercom system.
I heard about that. Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's typical Philadelphia.
yeah. So it's
Even with
rough
the
in
fans
Philly.
getting booed.
It's rough in Philly, even without the fans.
Yeah, that's a rough fans right there. Just go. Wentz is gonna bench. They're gonna bench Wentz.
Well, I mean, Jalen Ramsey is activated, so
Hurts.
I'm
Hurts.
yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you, Box. Hurts is activated, so but that I mean, it may be some consideration, but I think Wentz probably has another game or two before something changes back there.
Yeah, I think it's way too early to make that move, but we'll see. I guess that definitely is something to look out for. Um, and then the big injury, I think of the weekend, Shaquan Barkley. He's done for the year. It looks like it's going to be an ACL. Hopefully, he gets back healthy and back in pads, and we get to see him again next season. But the Giants took a big loss, and they took a L against the Bears. I'm going to blame it straight on Shaquan Barkley not being there because it was a pretty tight scoring game. And maybe with Barkley there, the Giants would have won that game. But they didn't. Box, how can they even continue in the season? You know, I mean, Barkley was that team. What happened in this game? Do you see them getting any better? You know, they're not in the toughest division, but they have a lot to prove now.
Well, like we talked about when we previewed this game, I said this was going to be an ugly game. It was an ugly game. Before Saquon went out, it was an ugly game. After he went out, it was
I
an
messed up
ugly
his name
game.
again, didn't I?
Anyway, this game, each team had 4 sacks on the other. Trubisky looked bad, then he looked great, and then he looked bad again. Daniel Jones looked horrendous. Then Saquon went out, and Deion Lewis came in, and then he looked bad, and then they fell behind, and then he brought him back, and he came within one throw of winning the game. It was an all-out ugly game. I think that going forward, both these teams could say, well, you know what? Our defense has hung in there, 4 sacks on the other team. You know, defense has played well enough. Going forward, the Giants can say, well, you know what? Daniel Jones looked bad in the first half, but he brought us back after we lost our star player, and we almost won that game behind Daniel Jones. But then it's kind of like, well, you know, was it really Daniel Jones, or were the Bears just kind of like fall off a little bit? It was just an ugly game overall. You know, the Bears came out on top last minute. I do see going forward the Giants, because really all they have is Deion Lewis back there. He's not a bad running back. He's obviously not Saquon Barkley. I think they're going to rely a little bit more on Daniel Jones, which could be problematic, but could be very helpful. So we'll see how that goes.
That's what the dog has to say. What am I doing?
Giants Bears still.
Yeah.
We're still in Giants Bears.
Yes.
Yeah, like you said, it was an ugly game. I think it was expected. Barkley is a big loss. Coach, give me something on Daniel Jones and Trubisky, and both these ugly teams going forward. Can Daniel Jones carry this team to a few more wins, or do you see them folding without Saquon Barkley?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like what Bach said. This in itself was an ugly game. It reminded me of an '80s steel cage match. That ugly. So, and if anybody watch '80s wrestling,
Undertaker, Mankind getting thrown off.
No. We're not. We're talking about Nikita Koloff and Dusty Rhodes against two of the Horsemen for the World Tag Team titles somewhere in Starrcade. Just like everybody ends up with blood on their face, right? Raking the cage. It was ugly all over. I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yes. So if Daniel Jones and Mitchell Trubisky plan on winning any more games, I kind of think for the most part, without looking at the schedule, it'll be similar to this ugly games. Saquon Barkley is very unfortunate for the guy that he got injured, but I mean, I've always had a problem with Saquon's Barkley running style when he chooses to get to the hole and joke and look for the big run every play. Um, and, you know, one of my high school coaches used to always yell, "Hit the hole, sucker! Hit the hole! Stop dancing! Stop tiptoeing! You hit the hole, then you look for the open field. But if not, you don't get stopped in the backfield. You don't get met at the line of scrimmage by a linebacker or defensive lineman. You continue to go. And on that particular play where Saquon got hurt, if he didn't take that sidestep and if he just would have used his athleticism to hit the hole, he would have flew past everybody and maybe got his big play.
Yeah, yeah. It was ACL was an ugly injury, and he has to learn how to run north and south because this whole east and west thing doesn't work in the NFL. Unfortunately, he is done for the year. We hope to see him back next year, healthy, strong, and keep on going with what he showed us, what he can do. But run north and south, stop doing east and west. And on to the game that, well, I guess the defensive coordinators told their defense to take a day off. I don't know what happened, but boy, oh boy. Dallas, Atlanta. I think everyone's talking about it. It was a Dallas miraculous comeback. It wasn't the prettiest of comebacks either, but they won. Dallas moves on to week 3 with a W. Bucks, give me something on this game because I could hardly wrap my head around these highlights and everything that happened.
This game was insane. This game was absolutely insane. And the funny thing, I didn't even watch it. I ended up having to watch the highlights. But we were in my house. We were all watching the tube. And one of my sister's friends, Cowboy fan, was like, man, they're down. I looked up and like, they were down 15 with 5 minutes left. And then he gets up and he goes, yeah, I'm leaving. They won. Like, who won? Wait, who won? The Cowboys didn't win. Yeah, they won by 1. No, they didn't. And then I saw the highlights of how it actually happened. And this morning, I was nice enough to talk to my boy Pooh, who's a huge Cowboys fan, always dons his cowboy gear on Facebook. And I told him, Pooh, I'm going to tell him, well, I'm going to tell all the Cowboys fans out there what I told him. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Because that onside kick was ridiculous. I've seen onside kicks dating back to 1981. That had to be the silliest looking onside kick. And to be able to recover it and still have a chance to win that game was miraculous and ridiculous. Now, I will say this. Anybody who wants to talk crap about Dak Prescott and he's not this and he's not that and he's not, I said it last week. Dak will make enough plays to help you win that game.
I know.
450 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns, and brought them all the way back for an improbable win, which they desperately needed. So you know what? You can talk all you want about Dak Prescott, but if you didn't have Dak Prescott, you probably weren't winning this game, onside kick aside. Cowboys fans, congrats. Falcons fans, you guys put up two good showings offensively. Julio Jones can't drop touchdowns, and your defense is giving up way too many points. Your coach is officially back on the hot seat.
I'm gonna save my my chef's rant for later on in the episode. We won't talk about Dak Prescott. Good for him. He won. He beat the team that he should have beat, and he has the numbers and everything behind it to prove it. I can't say anything this week, but Dak, don't slip up, because I'm coming for your ass, Coach. The onside kick, that game itself, give me something for us to understand what the hell happened to Atlanta. And that onside kick, I mean, it was like a kickball. He was like they rolled it 10 yards. And I don't understand it, but it, here we are at the end of week 2 and Dallas won.
Yeah. Well, first off, Box mentioned one of our partners, Pooh. Salute to you, Pooh. Congratulations. But that kick was called a watermelon kick, and it's something that was even new to me. I've never seen it done like that before. But the thing about it is, what in the world was the Falcons special team players doing, standing there looking at the ball? All you had to do was jump on the ball. The game's over. You run out the clock. The game's over. But you stand there and watch it spin, just like the Cowboys did, and The Cowboys let it roll far enough. They jumped on it. Game over. Stat line, what I found today about this game, a team who leads another team by 39 points and has 0 turnovers. They were 440 and 0 to win the game. But of course, as I said in the preview, streaks are meant to get broken. Today was the day. Atlanta, Dirty Birds, you let us down big time. You and your defensive line. That defensive line killed you, big major. But what can we say? Go back to Flowery Branch, get it together, prepare for next week.
Yeah, and I don't know, figure that out because it's too so far for Atlanta. I kind of feel bad for them because they lost to Seattle, now they lose to Dallas, and seems like shootouts, but they can't seem to get a win.
Yeah, Chef. Speaking of shootouts, Piper, how about that Calvin Ridley? He put some pipe on your team, didn't he?
Got him.
This guy talks up his fantasy football team like Ric Flair used to talk up the Four Horsemen.
He got me this week too.
Oh Lord.
He beat me up like I owed him money is what happened this week with me. Carolina at Tampa. Tom Brady finally got his win in Tampa. Didn't take long, only 2 weeks. So I don't know why everyone's making such a big deal, but whatever. Carolina, McCaffrey is another one of those that got hurt. Doesn't seem like he's done for the year. But Tampa, I think, is just a better team. It's a division team, but good for Tampa to get it together and get their season going. And not only that, doing it against a division foe. Box, give me something on this game. Is Tampa the real deal, or are we going to see more of week one?
Well, after the Saints game, I said a few things. Number one, Tom Brady's still Tom Brady. Anybody who saw that pass over the middle, that 30, 40-yard pass, that pass was absolutely beautiful. Hit the guy in stride over the defender. Yeah, he might not have the huge army, the strong arm that he had when he was younger. Can't make those sideline routes, but he's still Tom Brady, man. And by the way, when that defense shows up to the tune of 5 sacks and 4 turnovers, which, by the way, I picked them up in fantasy. Plus their latest addition, Leonard Fournette, goes for 103 yards on the ground, plus 2 touchdowns. Plus Ronald Jones looked good. Let me tell you something. Tampa Bay, like we talked about it there, after the first game of the Saints. Yeah, they might have lost, and yeah, they it's a divisional route. Tampa Bay still looks pretty damn good. Tom Brady's still Tom Brady. He does what he needs to do. Fournette's now running the ball well, and that defense shows up every week like that. They're gonna be in it all the way to the end, man. It's gonna be a fun season.
Yeah, like we said in our earlier episodes, RELAX, relax. They got their win. Moving on to a game that maybe, well, what are we talking about here? Green Bay beat Detroit. Oh, sorry, Coach. Give me your thoughts on the Tampa Carolina game, man. Sorry, I fucking skipped over you. Like, I just don't like talking about Tom Brady, bro. That's all it is.
Well. It was a lot of interesting takeaways from this game. Jarrett McKinnon, it was 3rd and 31. He was able to run the ball and get the first down against the Panthers defense. Amazing. The last time I think someone else did it, I saw a stat line where it was Leroy Hoard. And actually, that's one of my favorite running backs in NFL history, Leroy Hoard. He did a 55-yard run on a 3rd and 37. So shouts out to Jarrett McKinnon for his big run.
Poor defense. Couldn't get him off the field at third. Wow.
Definitely. And it was running the ball. DJ Moore, he had a great game, but unfortunately, bad news. I hate to say I told you so again, but McCaffrey being on the field 97% of the time, and from my understanding, his injury was kind of a nagging injury that's been going on this season, but he's out. He's out for a couple of weeks with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, Yeah, thankfully it wasn't super serious, and we'll see him again this season. But like you said, they are overworking Christian McCaffrey, and they gotta, they next draft they better figure out bringing some playmakers, maybe trade for a backup running back where they could start splitting carries with him, kind of like what they're doing in Cleveland with Hunt and Chubb. They got to do something to keep that guy healthy because, poor guy. Um, and now we'll go into Detroit, Green Bay, which is not much to talk about. Aaron Jones blew up. And Johnny's like, yeah. Give me something on the Green Bay. Johnny, you're smiling at me like you beat someone over the head in fantasy this week.
Well, I did. I mean, I really did. Well, if you saw our fantasy show last week with our boy Packer, we talked about this game, and he talked about how Devontae Adams will probably take a step back from his huge game week one, and this is going to be the Aaron Jones show. I agreed with him, not just because he's on my fantasy team, but because we thought it was going to be the Aaron Jones show, which it totally and absolutely was. Devontae Adams did get hurt in the game. He didn't. I didn't think he played the second half. I think it was maybe like a little tweak. He may be out a week, but it's not a huge injury, but he did leave the game. So that hurt his stats. Aaron Jones, 236 total yards, 3 total touchdowns. I mean, and then as he's running all over and catching all over the Detroit Lions, number 12 decides, you know what? I gotta throw a couple of touchdowns just to make my stats look a little bit respectable. So they just obliterated the Browns. And then if that wasn't enough, the Green Bay defense, 4 sacks and an INT on Matthew Stafford and his boys. I mean, they put up 42. They hung up 42, and I think I called the game. I think I said like something like 35-17. I wasn't too far off. They hung 42 on the Lions. And the Green Bay Packers, top to bottom, obviously, hopefully Devontae Adams not hurt for a long time. Jones looks good. Number 12 is God, and that defense looks pretty damn good as well. They're now the leaders of the NFC North, the North Division, and they look like, again, they're going to be a team that's going to be in until the end. This NFC side of the ball is going to be a lot of fun the rest of the way.
You know what? If that team, like you said, Aaron Jones did it 1 week. Aaron Rodgers did it the week before. If they could get both of that going together where they could dominate running the ball and Aaron Rodgers is able to throw the ball. What am I saying? Of course, Aaron Rodgers could throw the ball. And that defense could play good. I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I have them number 2 in my rankings. I think they're the second best team in the NFL right now. And they have experience. Aaron Rodgers has been there. They have a lot to work for, but it seems like they're going to win the division pretty clearly because Minnesota, boy, oh boy. We'll talk about that later on. But, Coach, give me something on this game that we're not mentioning. Any shining lights for Detroit? I don't think so, but maybe.
I don't know about shining lights on Detroit, but there's a light that needs to be shining on Matt Patricia.
He was going to go after Patricia. I knew it. I've been thinking about this all week. I knew he was going to go after Patricia.
I'll set him up. You knock him out. Go ahead, buddy.
Lord.
Oh, man. 14-3. The Lions on fire. The Motor City, they're back. But what happens? Meltdown. So what can I say? I mean, all the analytic geeks already have Matt Patricia picked out every game. Even if he's up, they still say he's going to lose. So, teams, if you need a head coach, don't pick Matt Patricia. Just let him run out in their free agency and end up back in New England.
I don't want him back in New England either. But to our buddy that shouted us out when we did our NFC North Division talk, Detroit Lion fan, you'll get a tag with this video. And just like we said in our preview show, so far, I know it's only 2 weeks. You're not going to get a rant from me, but so far you guys are getting pounded. So let's just leave it at that. We'll move on to the next game. Washington at Arizona. I felt like this was going to be the dark horse game. And it was one of those games that it was much watched football this week. Washington they put up a good fight, but Kyler Murray is the real deal. Arizona is the real deal. No, I'm not going to say they're number 3 in the league, but they definitely are the real deal, and the Rams and the Seahawks and the 49ers especially better watch out. Box, who checks your box in this game?
I feel like I owe him an apology, which I really don't, because I just thought, I didn't think he was going to be bad in the NFL. I just didn't think he was going to be this in the NFL. But Kyler Murray is, he's becoming must-watch, must-see TV. You're talking about on the very, very impressive front four, the very impressive Ron Rivera-led Washington football team defense. 286 yards through the air on a touchdown, 67 more through the ground, 2 more touchdowns. You see the highlights of this game. They could not get to him. And even when they did get to him, he came back and he just slung the ball sideways, hit one of his receivers in stride, and he just kept that thing moving and moving and moving and moving. And, Washington made a really, really good effort of it late. Haskins tried to bring him back. But, Kyler Murray was just, wow. Like, he is fun to watch, man. He really is. So if I ever doubted you, I want to say from bottom of my heart, I'm sorry, because right now you're becoming one of my favorite players to watch, hands down. Also, a shout out to the Arizona D, 4 sacks, 2 turnovers against what I consider to be the better D, because I've been preaching about the Washington football team's front four and how good their front four, how good their pass rushers. You know what? The Arizona D, and we talked about this when we talked about the NFC West. We said they might be the toughest division of football, but this team is going to give a lot of teams problems because they're talented, and Cliff Kingsbury is doing a lot of things right. And now Murray's clicking, and now that defense is clicking, and wow. I can't wait for the next game because it's just fun.
Yeah, they're definitely a fun team to watch, especially being so young. But then they got them veterans like Larry Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins have been in the league for a while. This is a team that, man, coach, how serious is this team? Should everyone else in the NFL be kind of turning their back and going, uh-oh?
I think whoever's on their schedule for the rest of the season kind of need to rethink these Arizona Cardinals as they rise in the West. San Francisco is sliding right now, but there are 3 teams in that NFC West that are looking very competitive, and hopefully all 3 of these teams make the playoffs. But once again, shout out to Kyler Murray. Great game, as Bach said, in the air and on the ground. That young D-line of Washington will get better. It will get better. Ron Rivera will have an entire defense before he leaves or retires from the NFL and finishes his tenure with the Washington football team.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. This is one of those like typical like, hey, the Redskins aren't bad. It's just the Cardinals are just much better than you right now.
Football team.
Washington football team. Oh. And with that, we'll go to the game that should be kicked off the list to talk about. But San Fran at Jets, we'll talk about it. There were some injuries that are worth talking about. Box, take it away, because don't get me started on this because it was just bad. It's just the Jets are, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Well, the Niners, everybody picked the Niners to win this game. Well, actually, everybody but Packard picked the Niners to win this game. San Francisco lost 4 players. They lost Nick Bosa for the year. They're losing Garoppolo for a few weeks. They already lost for a while George Kittle. Mostert goes 80 yards. Just busts out an 80-yard run. Then he gets hurt. He got lost. So you figure, they lost their quarterback, their running back, their star defensive end. They already lost their best weapon in Kittle. They still beat the Jets 31-13. I hope San Francisco gets healthy. But the Jets really didn't put up much of a fight. Shout out to Braxton Berrios, former UM guy. Nice to see him get some action in the NFL. He's with the Jets right now. Caught a few balls, looked pretty decent. Good luck to him. The Jets are in trouble.
Adam Gase, time for you to get a new job. Is that what you're gonna say, Coach? I don't know, Coach. Take it away. I know you You love Adam Gase. Keep talking about him.
Well, I would love for Adam Gase to leave the Jets team. I mean, because it seems like everywhere he goes, he has a history of destroying teams. But unfortunately, another loss for the Jets. San Francisco plagued with injuries. Shout out to Jordan Reed. Seems like all he does is stay healthy. I think he's one player who, since he's been in the NFL, he's been healthy every season. And he stepped right in, next man up, and had a great game. I think Raheem was headed for a record-setting season, but I hope he's able to come back and continue his pace for whatever his stat lines finish in the end of the season. Jets. I thought Jacksonville was on the clock, but I think you all might be on the clock.
Well, they play each other, so no, they're definitely going to be fighting for that first overall pick. And that we go into, I hate to do this because I'm a Dolphin fan. I love my fans, but y'all getting it this week. Y'all need to chill. All of y'all need to chill. Every single one of you that's calling out the Dolphins and cutting everyone in half need to chill. Stop calling for Tua. He's a 5th overall pick. He's a future of this team. There is no reason for him to be in this team right now on the field. All y'all need to chill. We were up against a team that's probably going to win the division. They're going to push far in the playoffs. And we're only into our second year with Brian Flores at rebuilds. And we didn't lose by a lot. We put up a good fight. And y'all complaining? Relax. Box, take it away.
Was that the chef's rant? I'm just curious. I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, that was a chef's rant.
Was that the chef's rant for the day?
Yeah, that's it.
I'm not gonna rant. I'm not gonna rant as much as you did. I do have a couple of things to say. I went into this game thinking that if the Dolphins were gonna lose, they were gonna lose because of Josh Allen's legs. But it turns out they lost because of Josh Allen's arm. But it wasn't just his arm, because there was still 3 drops and 3 horrifically thrown passes to wide open receivers that he couldn't hit in a mid-range pass. And if he would have hit him, it probably would have been a blowout. But when it came time to slinging the ball downfield, man, I mean, you're talking about you're talking about 417 yards, 4 touchdowns on that defense. A few things about that. I can't remember his name now. The receiver they got from the Vikings that just completely annihilated.
Diggs.
Stephon Diggs averaged almost 20 yards a catch. He had 8 catches for 153 yards. That is asinine to anybody who has ever watched a defense or hope their defense plays well. Now, they lost Byron Jones earlier in the game. They lost Brandon Jones, a rookie safety. And then they moved Bobby McCain to safety. All these Dolphin fans that are on Twitter and all these Dolphin fans that are, diehards and they've been season ticket holders since the 60s and yada, 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 that have been backing Bobby McCain is not a safety. He's not even a good safety. He's not a safety. Do not put him back there. I know Flores is a hell of a lot better coach than I will ever hope to be, but he's not a safety. You want to know how I know he's not a safety? Because on the play that pretty much ended the game, he was nowhere to freaking be found, and he wasn't playing deep. They threw it over his head, and there went the game. Bobby McCain should be a nickel corner or a backup nickel corner at best. I'm sorry, that was my rant. Now, Mike Gesicki had a really, really good game. They found a way to get him the ball. 8 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. And Fitzpatrick looked pretty good. Now, I will say one thing. The offensive line looked pretty good as well. Running the ball, Myles Gaskin's getting a lot of work. They look fine. Fitzpatrick got 3 sacks on him. Here's my issue. All 3 sacks were on him. They were not on the offensive line. Maybe they were on the receivers not being able to get open. But you're not Jim Kelly in 1991. You can't sit back there with the ball for 15 seconds and think you're going to have all day to throw. You just can't do that. Now, that notwithstanding, I will say it again, like we've said it before, RELAX, relax. Yes, they're 0-2, But in week 1, the Dolphins were three down to the Patriots, and in week 2 in the fourth quarter, they had the lead. So, yes, as bad as their pass defense looked week 2, as bad as their run defense looked week 1, as bad as this and that, they were in both games. They're still rebuilding. Now, I will say one thing, and we're going to talk about it when we do our preview show for Thursday night. This Thursday night, they have Gardner Minshew, God bless you, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who've been playing pretty damn good ball. If they lose Thursday night, Tua, with everything that's going on in the league, the call for Tua will be ramped up. So Thursday night is a very important game. This game, they gave it a really good showing. They did the best they could, but they fell a little short. They still have things to work on. But overall, this is not the worst team in the world. This is not the worst team in the league. This is not, we don't have to start another rebuild. Everybody just needs to calm down, let things play out. But again, Thursday, I think, is a big, big game. Good luck for the Dolphins.
Good luck to them. We should beat Jacksonville, but we'll move on. Coach, give me something on this game. Johnny put a small rant. I gave a bigger rant. Do you have another rant, or are you just you're done with the ranting for the Dolphins?
I don't think I'm a rant at all, but shout out to our boy Myron. I had a conversation with him earlier today about the Dolphins defense, and we were discussing at times during the game. The Dolphins was in man coverage. If you don't have a dominant defensive line, you do not need to be in man coverage, especially against a team who's going to pass the ball and try to pass the ball deep. So maybe Flores was just out there trying to give his guys some looks, trying to see how his defense responds to certain situations. But the Dolphins, it's just growing pains right now. Relax. The Dolphins will get better. I hate to say it. It hurts me to say it, but great game for Josh Allen.
Yeah. Josh Allen torches us, and he did it again. But whatever. I mean, Buffalo's a good team. We hardly talked about Buffalo, and sorry, Bills fans. I mean, you guys know what you have in your hands. You have a good defense. You have a good quarterback. You have your star wide receiver. You're the best team in the division. So good luck. We'll see you at the end of the year. Denver at
Pittsburgh.
Denver at Pittsburgh. Box. What do you think about this game?
Drew Lock goes out after one play, after one pass. Completes one pass and gets hurt, out for the game. Backup comes in, Driscoll comes in, did the best he could, but at the end of the day, you know how I feel about Mike Tomlin, man. Pittsburgh's defense, 7 sacks. Big Ben, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns. James Conner, which I thought wouldn't play because he was hurt, and I was calling for Benny Snell having another good game. Conner played 106 more yards rushing and another touchdown. I mean, that Denver made it interesting made it interesting late. I think Pittsburgh only ended up winning by 5 at the final score. But Pittsburgh looks good, man. You know, they got all the pieces they need. That defense looks great. And, you know, that it's pretty much going to be them and the Ravens battling for that AFC North. But Pittsburgh got all the tools, man. They're clicking, and Mike Tomlin is still Mike Tomlin. So as far as Denver, hopefully they get locked back. Their defense still needs some help. I do like Gordon. I do like a few things that Gordon did. And they got to get Philip Lindsay back off injury. But it's just really good. They got to get Drew Lock back. I think going forward, they're going to be okay. Lock still needs to develop, but this game just wasn't for them.
Yeah, it was just another one of those teams going through a rebuild, and Pittsburgh is just like you said, they're the real deal. I'm really looking forward to that Browns Pittsburgh first matchup. It's going to be interesting to say the least. Coach, what do you think about this game?
I'm gonna just continue to say what I've been saying. Big Ben is back. 311 yards, 2 touchdowns. Another impressive game. For the Broncos, despite what was going on with Denver, Noah Fant continues to shine. Great player.
Yes, sir. They're going to be fighting in there with the Ravens. Ravens, Pittsburgh. Maybe we'll have one of those old school Ravens Steelers matchup this season with both teams being healthy. From there, we're gonna go to Minshew. God bless you. Jacksonville. You guys put up a good fight, but boy, oh boy, did Ryan Tannehill throw for 4 touchdown passes. You never did that as a Dolphin. Shame on you. Tennessee Titans is just a better team. I don't know if he did. Darren's looking at me like he did. Maybe he did. I don't remember exactly. That's maybe one or two times, but whatever. Tennessee's a better team here. At defense, Derrick Henry. That's it. I mean, that's the story of the game. Box, give me something on this game.
Tannehill threw for 239 yards and 4 touchdowns. Looked very good, but let's throttle it back just a little bit. Once again, don't look at the stats, look at the game. If I got Derrick Henry behind me and I run a play action and him and that great offensive line is blocking for me, and I'm standing back there 7 seconds, 10 seconds, all day to throw, and Jonnu Smith is in the center of the field, wide open, and all I got to do is throw a 15-yard pass straight ahead to a wide open guy who's then going to take it another 50 yards. I mean, no offense, a lot of quarterbacks can do that. But he did that. He did what he had to do. Now, that notwithstanding, Gardner Minshew, God bless you, 339 yards, 3 touchdowns. So as good as Tennessee might be and as good as Tennessee might have looked, and Tannehill looked great, that defense gave up 339 yards to the rock star that is Gardner Minshew. And he almost brought him back, man. He brought him all the way back to within an eyelash of winning that game. So, and it wasn't like it was garbage time. He brought them back. And, it was a game for a little while. Tennessee almost blew that lead. So, yes, Tennessee, I think, is the better team. Running back, quarterback, defense, everything. But let me tell you, the Jaguars, like Coach said, they're no longer on the clock, man. I mean, they're 1-1, and they got the Dolphins on Thursday night, and they could win that game and go. The Jaguars are not as bad as people thought they were going to be. Minshew, the running game, a couple of plays here, a couple of plays there. They're hanging with teams, and they're going to make it interesting. The Jets are on the clock, though. The Jets are done. But going forward, great game. Props to Tannehill. But again, there are going to be days where you can't play action, and you're going to face the Ravens or you're going to face the Steelers who are going to tee off on you. You better be ready. So congratulations to the Titans. Get ready for the rest of the season.
Like you said, RELAX. It seems to be the ongoing word in this episode. The word of this episode is I'm playing. Like you said, like we've said before, we know what Ryan Tannehill brings to the table. Just because he threw 4 touchdown passes in one game doesn't mean he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Everyone relax. When he does it against Baltimore or the Steelers or one of these top defenses, then we'll talk. Till then, Coach, other than what we've talked about, what else do you see?
Well, once again, another team has showed you how to slow down the Tennessee Titans. Jacksonville put together a pretty solid game plan to slow down the run at least, but they failed when it came to passing. Tannehill was only hurried 4 times. You cannot sit back and allow any NFL quarterback, and especially Ryan Tannehill, to be able to just stand back there, as Bach said, and make 15-yard dumps to his tight end Smith, which Piper, I had him on the bench, so I didn't put the gas all the way on you. But definitely, the Jaguars showed him how to slow down Henry. Continue to work Jacksonville. You have some bright spots, definitely going forward. But Tennessee, I mean, it's going to be a team still to continue to wreck with in the South.
Yeah, they're going to be up there, and maybe they'll win the division. But again, the Colts. We'll get back to that later. And a game that surprised, I think, everyone, at least it surprised the shit out of me, was Kansas City at the Chargers. The Chargers put up a hell of a fight to beat the defending reigning, undisputed Super Bowl champions. That was a horrible Paul Heyman. The Bucks, who checks their boxes in this game, Mahomes.
This game was amazing. This game I actually sat and watched the whole way. I was so excited by this game, and let me tell you something. We talked about it when we talked about the rookies. We talked about the draft. We talked about the Chargers. We talked about Justin Herbert. I said I thought he was an athletic kid. I said I thought he had the tools for the NFL, but he didn't. Maybe he still needed to work on that. Late games heroics kind of thing. Let me tell you something. Justin Herbert looked damn good. I mean, if I'm a Miami Dolphins fan and I saw that and I'm wondering why the 6th overall pick is playing against the world champions and balling out, and the 5th overall pick is sitting on my bench while we're 0-2, I'd be a little bit upset. But we're going to talk about that in another show. I'm going to talk about Justin Herbert. 311 yards, a passing touchdown, and he added a rushing touchdown. And he had the lead on the world champions. But the world champions have this guy named Patrick Mahomes. And let me tell you something. I was telling my buddy while I was watching that show, while I was watching that game, I looked at him, I go, do you notice that every time Mahomes drops back, it's like he's playing catch. It's like he's not flustered. If he has to roll out, it's almost like the game is in slow motion around him. He doesn't get flustered. He doesn't get rocked. They're down. He's flushed out of the pocket. It's almost like he's running, he's jogging, and the game is in slow motion. It was just an amazing thing to see. Andy Reid, yes, his team fell behind. The Chargers put up a hell of a fight. Anthony Lynn and his boys deserve a lot of credit. Justin Herbert going forward, I'd be very excited if I was a Charger fan right now, man. He looks good. He looks damn good. There was a shot of Keenan Allen right after the game that they ended up losing in overtime. Keenan Allen was just distraught because they gave everything they had to try to win that game, and they came up just short. The Chiefs are still the Chiefs. They're gonna have games like this. Mahomes is just amazing, but once again, Justin Herbert going forward. I know it's just one game. We got to take this one game at a time. But first game, first start, 311 yards against the world champions and 2 total touchdowns and nearly a win. You got to be excited if you're a Chargers fan right now.
Yeah, I would be too. Coach, give me something on Justin Herbert. Was this a fluke, or we're going to see this again? Because, a lot of people were doubting him during the draft. But he showed up against the Super Bowl team. Like Johnny said, what should we expect from this going forward? Or you can talk about Andy Reid if you want to.
Well, I'll say that for later. But since you, Justin Herbert, me, myself, I was a doubter in Justin Herbert too. I always say that Oregon players do not transition well to the NFL, and I kind of put Justin Herbert in that same box also. He came out at game time and stepped right up, next man up football, and stepped in and played big. I kind of thought Steve Spagnuolo was going to just put together some exotic packages and allow him to be confused out there and or make him confused, but he didn't. He was poised like he was used to this. He wasn't new to this. So shout out to Justin Herbert. Great game for him. But of course, anytime we can give props to Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, and Patrick Mahomes, for winning ugly. If the Chiefs win ugly and they're able to win, it is what it is. It's a great team, great game plan, way to adjust. But that kicker that they have, his name is Harrison. It's Harrison Buckner. He gave her a quote to the media that basically debunked the myth of him about the icing the kicker philosophy. Buckner said, I had 2 practice shots at it. So I knew I was going to make the 3rd shot. And his 3rd shot was his best shot. So shout out to him for sealing the game for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing? This kid hit a 58 yarder earlier in the game. Then he lines up for a 52-yarder. And he makes it, like, by 10 yards. And then there was a penalty. So now he's got to kick a 58-yarder. Or whatever, 57-yarder. 57-yarder. He kicks it. They ice him. They call timeout. He makes it by 10 yards. So then he's got to kick it again. We're talking about a 57-yard field goal. It wasn't even a question. I mean, this kid's leg is through. I mean, it's ridiculous. Everything was boomed, 10 yards to spare, straight down the middle. That guy is serious.
Hey, Pat McAfee for the brand. There you go. I would love to hear Pat McAfee talk about this guy. Dallas at Houston. Dallas at Houston. Baltimore at Houston. Yeah, go.
This game was pretty simple. Baltimore, 230 yards rushing on the ground against, excuse me, the wonderful game planning Bill O'Brien. Baltimore's defense, 4 sacks, 2 turnovers. I got nothing but love for Deshaun Watson. I love that kid so much. And I mean, I don't know if Baltimore, we said they were out for blood. I don't know if Baltimore is just that damn good or Houston's starting to regress more than we thought. We'll find out as the season progresses. Baltimore just dominated this game. I mean, it was never in any doubt. They're rotating running backs. Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson. The defense is off the chain. Houston's got to get their stuff together. I don't think they're going to because it's Bill O'Brien. I feel bad for Deshaun Watson, but Baltimore, we do a top 5. Baltimore better be in your top 5 because they are out for blood.
We'll do a top 5. Baltimore is in the top 5 for me too. Just not number 2. Coach, give me something. Like Johnny said, it. This was kind of Baltimore being Baltimore, like we've said before. They're out for blood, and Houston. I don't know. Maybe they're on the clock.
Well, I mean, Bill O'Brien is another guy that
he's definitely on the clock.
Yeah. You might want to rethink him coaching your team going forward. But since Bill O'Brien's been there, Houston has had their ups and downs like this. They'll get hammered one game and then come back next game. Deshaun Watson and the offense looks phenomenal. But this game, it is what it pretty much is. Baltimore came in, their defense imposed their will on them. They took over the game. Jackson was out there doing what he does. Mark Ingram running in straight lines, scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, Baltimore's going to do Baltimore, and until they play a team next week that could possibly stop them. There's a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge preview. Next week is it's a big test for both KC and Baltimore. We'll talk about that when the time comes. But Baltimore, the train is going, and I don't know when it's going to stop. Maybe this is a year for Lamar Jackson, but relax. We'll move on to the next game. Minnesota, Indy. I'm very happy about this game. Indy showed up. Minnesota looks horrible compared to what a lot of people thought they were going to be. But Indianapolis, Phillip Rivers gets his first win in a Colts jersey. And going forward, they are now, I believe they're going to be in second place behind Tennessee Titans. So whenever that game comes, we'll see how good they match up against each other. But box, who checks your box in this game, man?
I revert back to when we made the picks for this game last week and how Chef was all like, I'll pick an Indy. Wait, can I change my pick? No, you can't change your pick. He's the only one who got it right. Because we all picked Minnesota because we all thought, Zimmer going to have those boys ready. Phillip Rivers can't beat a Zimmer defense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The problem wasn't Phillip Rivers or the Zimmer defense. The problem was the $84 million man, Kirk Cousins, threw 3 picks. You throw 3 picks, and I talked about this when we talked about the AFC South. That rookie Jonathan Taylor took it, got it, and I don't think he's letting it up, man. 104 yards on the ground and a touchdown. He looks good. They got a great offensive line. Rivers is just enough to win. And when your defense, which by the way, I ended up benching them in favor of Tampa Bay because I thought, they were going to be out there. That defense really, really, really showed up. 3 picks on Cousins. All of a sudden, by the way, the Vikings, who my 2 partners over here picked to win the division, are looking pretty bad right now because they're 0-2. And you guys are looking up right now. And right now, my pick of the Packers looks pretty damn good. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to the Vikings. Zimmer, I know it's just 0-2, but they've kind of looked bad both weeks, man. And Cousins has to get it together. They got to start going back to Dalvin Cook. That defense, Coach, Zimmer, defense, they're supposed to go hand in hand. They're supposed to interlace, like this. Like it's a marriage. And damn, they look bad, man. They look bad both weeks. And Minnesota's got a lot of work to do.
Go ahead, Coach. Don't let me stop you. He Johnny Box put it right on the spot for you, boy. You better hit that out the park.
Box pitched it right to me. But once again, it was another streak in this game. Phillip Rivers has never beat a Mike Zimmer coach defense. Never. It's the first time for everything.
That's 2 this week.
He broke the streak. So definitely, big game for Phillip Rivers. I'm still not really a believer, but that Indianapolis offensive line looked great. Minnesota's defensive line was not doing anything out there. They did not touch Phillip Rivers. They did not stop running backs. Running backs were making it to the second level, and they were gone. That's where the game is won, in the trenches. And, Philadelphia definitely no, I'm sorry, not Philadelphia, but Indianapolis imposed their will on them. Cousins, this guy is killing Minnesota offense. The decision that he's making, forcing the ball downfield with those deep passes, he's throwing rocket short passes. This guy's everywhere. So I don't know if he's just trying to make a big play or what's going on with Minnesota. But, unfortunately, Mike Zimmer and his team, they're looking real shaky right now. So hopefully they can get it together. But you're killing me, Mike, and I'm a fan.
Yeah, I know. I was expecting me, Coach and myself were expecting big things from this team this year, but don't worry, Box. We got you right where we want you. Don't worry. We're gonna go right into New England, Seattle. Look, Cam Newton did look good, and I apologize to Cam Newton because I've ripped you a few times, and he looked good. He did get stopped at the end of the game, but that's not his fault. That's just better defense. And like Kelly said, it's in the trenches. That's where the game is won, and they won the game on that play. Box, what stood out in this game to you?
Well, a few things. Number one, Cam Newton, as much as people were saying he's not going to work in New England, we talked about how long it's going to take. He had 397 yards passing, a touchdown, 2 more rushing touchdowns on what I consider to be a very good defense. But now I see what they've done in the first 2 weeks, and I got to tell you, maybe Seattle gets too much of a lead and their defense takes a little bit of a break. Pete Carroll's got to tighten that defense a little bit, man, because you can't have – you're talking about the Legion of Boom. You're talking about Jamal Adams, Pete Carroll, that defense. Matt Ryan went for 450 on them. Cam Newton, who's known to be more a running quarterback than a passing quarterback, just went for 397. They've allowed 800-plus yards of passing the first 2 weeks. That's not a superstar championship defense. You know who is championship, though? Their quarterback. My guy, Mr. Russell Wilson. 288 yards, 5 touchdowns. And let me tell you, that pick six, that wasn't on him. I mean, he threw it to the guy, and his receiver literally said, here, like a hot pocket, and threw it to the defender, and the guy just ran it in. I don't put that pick on Russell Wilson. But 288 yards and 5 touchdowns, I'll take that any day of the week. It was a hell of a game, hell of a, coaching, X's and O's, 2 guys going at it. The stop at the end on Cam was just amazing. I mean, that kid just flew in there and upended him with no time left. It was a hell of a game. But going forward, let me tell you something, man. You could talk all you want about New England and Belichick and Cam, and they don't have Brady and this and that and that and this. If Cam's going to put up these kind of numbers, and that defense can hold it down, and Belichick could just kind of like game plan, maybe they're not as done as people think they are. Maybe they might have lost this game, but they were not, and they might have fallen behind, but they came back and they were in the game. They could very easily be 2-0. So, let's give Cam some props. Let's give Belichick some props. And Seattle, get your pass defense in line, man, because, you got Russell Wilson. You don't want to waste it.
Yeah. Those are some real good points. Me personally, I got to apologize to Cam. And you're right. I mean, Belichick is Belichick. The Patriots are the Patriots until they get knocked off that horse. And they are the Patriots. But Kelly, do you think this is something – I don't want to put Seattle that far up and make them sound like they're the best team in the NFL right now. But do you think that, that defense, are they kind of just cruising or saving it for the playoffs? Do they expect to be in the playoffs? Or is that really a problem there with that defense?
It might be just New England's offense was just that good, and they weren't expecting them to be. As Bach said, Cam came in and had a phenomenal game. If you watched our fantasy show, I was off by 150 yards, but I did say that they would come out, and you would see another part of Cam Newton with passing the ball. So definitely he had a great game. It was unfortunate for him that last play, I think, was a terrible call to run off tackle. He should have McDaniel should have sent him to the pylon or gave him a rollout pass where he would have the option to either run it in or throw it to somebody in the end zone. But Box's boy, Russell Wilson, he might be your boy, but he's my fantasy quarterback. And guess what he did to the Pied Piper? He scorched them. Definitely. He scorched them. So this week, I'm on the up and up. I'm feeling good about my fantasy leagues. So
Yeah.
Shout out to all my guys. But see, but the Pats and Seahawks, it was an interesting game. The AFC East has a strong team in the Pats, and the West has the Seahawks. Great game.
Yes, sir. And with that, that's your week 2 review. Guys, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment. If we talk bad about your team, comment. Defend your teams. We want to hear you. Shout out to Packer. He'll join us for the fantasy this week. He will be back. He couldn't join us tonight, but don't worry. He'll be back. With that being said, good night, everyone.
Peace.
Ooh, good luck with the Cowboys.